I turned on the engine of the tidebreaker and felt it rumble beneath me. The water glistened under the fading light. My friends were chatting excitedly, setting up fishing rods. I felt relaxed, maybe too relaxed. Everything was normal, or so I thought. After we cast our lines, I noticed a strange pulsing noise coming from below the surface. It sounded like a heartbeat. I thought it might be underwater currents or some fish, but my friends exchanged nervous looks. I asked if they were okay. They nodded, but I could see uncertainty in their eyes. Hours passed. One friend swore she saw a shadow dart under the boat. I shrugged it off. I was a marine biologist, and I believed in science, not superstition. Still, deep down, I felt something was off. Gear started going missing, and I couldn't find the bait we had put out. I looked around at my friends. They were more quiet now, and worry lingered in the air. The thrumming noise grew louder as the sun disappeared. It felt like the ocean itself was alive and watching us. My heart began to race. I tried to navigate, but the system had failed. Panic spread among my friends. I could see their faces now pale under the dim light. They whispered about turning back, but I hesitated. The strange energy of the ocean was pulling at my instincts. I tried to reassure them, even though dread churned in my stomach. Let us just wait it out. It will get better, I said. But the feeling only intensified. As darkness settled in, shadows danced beneath the surface. I could feel something watching us. Then, everything went quiet. The thrumming stopped. I looked at my friend Sam. He turned to me, his face frozen in fear. "Mark, do you hear that?" I had never seen him so scared before. I followed his gaze where he was staring into the water. A dark shape rose slowly, breaking the surface. My breath caught in my throat. "What is that?" I asked, but I don't remember anyone answering. My heart hammered in my chest, and I felt like something was lurking beneath, waiting. It felt as if the ocean itself was aware of our presence. Fear gripped me. The shape emerged more, glistening under the minimal light. I stood frozen. It was too big to be any fish I'd seen. We were far out, surrounded by nothing but water and an endless night. The shadows grew bolder below, moving in ways that seemed deliberate, like a predator circling its prey. Then, one of my friends shouted, "We have to get out of here." But I couldn't move. My mind raced. I wasn't ready to accept what we were facing. The boat felt small, like a bubble in those vast dark waters, and still, the shape drew closer. It knew we were there. I've never stopped thinking about that night. I was a marine biologist, yet I felt so insignificant against the vastness of the sea. Whatever watched us has never left my mind. It felt alive, and sometimes I wonder if it still is. I finally shook off my paralysis. "We need to move," I shouted. It dawned on me how vulnerable we were, floating on that tiny boat. My friends sprang into action, scrambling to reel in their lines. The fear on their faces pushed me to grab the throttle and turn the boat back as quickly as I could manage. I revved the engine. The dark shape lingered just below the surface, moving in a way that felt almost calculated. My heart raced. The sound of the roar from the engine clashed with the eerie silence that had settled around us. Suddenly, the thrumming noise returned louder than before. It vibrated through the hull, resonating with an unseen force. "Faster, Mark," Sam yelled, looking over the side. His voice trembled. I could see the panic twist his features. I pushed the throttle forward, hoping the engine would respond as we sped through the water. I didn't look back. I focused on the horizon, trying to find the glow of the coast. It felt like the boat was battling against something unseen, as if the ocean was reluctant to let us go. The water began to churn, swirling around us, waves rising and falling violently. "Something's down there," Jenna shouted. Her voice trembled as she pointed towards the spot where the shape had submerged. "We need to get out." In that moment, a massive shadow surged forward, breaking the surface. It was enormous. A thick tail swished through the water, sending waves crashing against the boat. I gripped the steering wheel tightly, struggling to keep control. It felt as if we were being pulled towards the darkness below. "Mark, look out," Sam shouted. I turned to see the shadow moving closer, revealing jagged edges that shimmered ominously in the dim light. My pulse quickened. I had no business being here. It was wrong. I always respected the ocean, yet now I felt like an intruder. With a surge of instinct, I yanked the wheel hard to the right. The boat lurched. My friends screamed as water splashed up over the sides. "Hold on," I shouted, clenching my jaw. I pushed the engine as hard as it would go. Through the crashing waves, I glimpsed something rise from the depths, a glimpse of huge, gaping teeth. My stomach dropped. We were being hunted. Just as we broke through a line of larger waves, the engine sputtered. The lights flickered. No, no, I cried, willing it to keep going. Panic surged through me. The boat began to slow. I frantically checked the engine, but a rattling sound echoed behind us. The water swirled again, and I momentarily froze, dread washing over me. That shape was resurfacing. Go, go, shouted Jenna, panic rising in her voice. Come on. I yelled back, but terror gripped me. The engine sputtered again. That's when I noticed a strange glimmer in the water. Something was rising fast. I couldn't comprehend what it was, but I felt a sense that this has changed everything. My heart raced as I braced for whatever was about to break the surface again. I knew then, we weren't just fishing. We were part of something much bigger, and whatever it was had taken notice of us. Just as the water below us began to bubble ominously, a blinding flash erupted from the depths. My vision narrowed to that single point of light, and for a moment, I could hardly comprehend what was happening. Everyone screamed, and Jenna clutched my arm, her eyes wide with fear. Mark, what is that? She gasped. I shouted back, but before I could finish, the light vanished. In its place, the surface exploded. Water flew in every direction, cascading around us like a fountain. And then, from the depths, a colossal creature burst forth, its scales glimmering in the dying light of the sky that it towered above us. Long and sinuous, marked with deep scars that told tales of battles unknown. The shape of its body was like nothing I had ever seen, a blend of fish and ancient predator, something straight out of a nightmare. I felt tiny, vulnerable, that we were trapped. Get the motor started, Sam yelled, his voice barely cutting through the chaos that I scrambled to the engine, fingers shaking as I turned the key. The motor groaned, sputtered, then went silent. My heart sank. The creature soared above us, long, sleek, and impossibly powerful. I felt its gaze on me, heavy and searching. I knew we were being assessed. Mark, Jenna shouted, panic lacing her voice. We have to swim. We can't just wait. Swim? Are you crazy? I replied. The water was teeming below, an oppressive darkness throbbing where the creature dove and surfaced. I wasn't ready to take that leap. The boat shuddered under us, a ripple of its deep growl echoing. I looked at my friends. Their faces were a mix of terror and desperation. Time seemed to stretch as I weighed my options. That's when I saw a flash of silver darting through the water, moving toward us with incredible speed. My breath caught. Something else is out there. I yelled. Get ready. The creature's head dipped, water cascading off its sleek body as it submerged again, leaving a wake that threatened to capsize us. Jenna's eyes darted back and forth, a silent plea for a decision. We have to move now. I pressed. Grab your things. As they fumbled in a panic, the boat lurched violently to the side. Something thudded against the hull. I clung to the edge, heart racing, as I stared into the swirling depths. And then it got worse. A second figure emerged, smaller but just as menacing, a smaller version of the first, darting between the waves with precision. The ocean felt alive, and its creatures had all turned against us. I cursed under my breath, dread settling in my gut. Now, I shouted, finally breaking through my fear. Everyone jump. With no time to waste, I dove into the frigid waters, pulling Jenna behind me. The shock hit me hard, and as I looked back at the boat, I saw Sam hesitate. Come on, I yelled, my voice echoing back. But then everything went dark. A wave engulfed us, and I lost sight of Jenna. Panic shot through me. Then I felt a thick, cold sensation wrapping around my ankle. That's when I realized we weren't just being watched. We were being hunted. I thrashed in the water, terror gripping my heart. Whatever had wrapped around my ankle felt alive. My first instinct was to kick, to fight. I yanked my leg free, or so I thought. The cold grip loosened, but it was enough to send me tumbling further beneath the surface. That I glanced up and saw the surface shimmering faintly above me, a lure I couldn't reach. My lungs screamed for air, but I forced myself to push deeper. I needed to find Jenna. I couldn't just abandon her. Suddenly, I caught sight of her just a few feet away, flailing. Relief surged through me, which quickly melted away when I noticed the shadow surfacing behind her, a blur slipping through the water with precision. It was the monstrous creature, and it was closing in fast. "Jenna," I shouted, my voice muted in the water. I kicked towards her, my heart racing. She was still fighting against the grip of the ocean. I reached out, grabbing her arm. She shot me a panicked look, and in that moment, I knew we had to get away. I pulled her down, sinking into the darkness. But as we moved, I felt a thrum beneath us, a heartbeat that pulsed through the ocean, resonating with my own fear. I stole a glance below and saw another flash of silver dart upwards. There was more than just one creature down here, and they were hunting together. "Let us go," I urged, pulling Jenna with me. My limbs burned with effort, but we pushed toward the dwindling light above. We had to get to the surface. Just as I felt our progress falter, a sudden burst of bubbles erupted around us. The smaller creature emerged, snapping its jaws close enough to send a shock of fear through my body. It didn't bite, though. It circled us like a predator testing its prey. "Swim," I forced out, my lungs beginning to ache. We kicked up towards the light, but I could feel the water swirl heavier around us, an unseen force trying to pull us down again. The surface burst into view, and I kicked harder, breaking through into the air. Gasping for breath, I pulled Jenna up beside me. She was wide-eyed and shivering, but alive. "We're not safe yet," I said, scanning the water around us. The surface was a chaotic mess, waves crashing against one another as if a storm raged just beneath. "Mark, what do we do?" Jenna gasped, her voice shaking. "Just keep swimming," I told her. I had no real plan, just the instinct to get away from whatever hunted us. I turned, scanning the waters, but no creatures surfaced. There was only a heavy silence around us, broken occasionally by the distant sound of splashing. Then, I caught a glimpse of the boat, a small silhouette against the fading horizon. "The boat!" I yelled, pointing. "We need to reach it." But then I noticed something that made my heart drop. There was no sign of Sam. "Where's Sam?" Jenna asked, panic creeping back into her voice. That I looked back at the water, dread washing over me. The surface was calm again, but something felt off, too quiet, too still. My thoughts raced. If he didn't get to the boat, that's when I felt it again. A pulsing thrum beneath me. As I looked below, my heart sank. A shadow loomed, massive and monstrous, creeping toward us from the depths. "We need to go now," I yelled, kicking with all my strength, but the dread was just beginning. The creatures had risen from the abyss, and they weren't finished hunting yet. The moment I started swimming toward the boat, I felt a surge of adrenaline. Every muscle screamed for me to stop, to rest, but I pushed on. The weight of Jenna's presence beside me anchored my resolve. We had to survive this. I glanced back, half expecting one of those creatures to burst through the surface, but the water remained calm. Too calm. I could hardly believe it, but that absence of noise only made my skin crawl. I dug my feet into the water, kicking harder. "Do you see it?" I asked Jenna, chest tight from fear and exertion. "I think so," she shouted, her voice strained. "It's just ahead." We swam, fighting against the waves that seemed to rise higher with every stroke. I could see the outline of the boat clearer now. It was a small fishing vessel, bobbing gently in the water, but it felt like the safety of a distant planet. Suddenly, Jenna's grip on my arm tightened, and she gasped. "What?" I asked, breathless. "Behind you." She pointed, her eyes wide with terror. I turned, and that's when I saw it. A pair of gleaming eyes stared back at me from the depths, gliding silently just beneath the surface. My heart pounded in my chest, and I gulped in a breath, panic rising. The creature moved swiftly, weaving in and out of the shadows, almost as if it was toying with us. "Mark, we can't stay here." Jenna's voice broke through my daze. I regained my focus and pulled her forward. "Now, swim faster." I pushed, desperate to reach the boat. The distance felt both impossibly far and painfully close. But behind us, the creature darted back and forth, its sleek form skimming the water's surface, a tragic show of predator and prey. I could hear Jenna's splashes behind me. "I can't keep up. Just a little further," I shouted, my voice hoarse. The boat seemed to sway closer, but that's when the water erupted. The larger creature, the one I had seen in the dark, lunged upward, a massive shadow breaching the surface with a crashing roar. Its maw opened wide, revealing rows of glistening teeth. "Mark!" Jenna cried out, her voice shrilled in panic. Time slowed as I made a split-second decision. I tugged her back and shouted, "Dive." Together we plunged beneath the surface just as the monstrous creature lashed down, sending a tower of water crashing over where we had just been. I didn't know how long we could hold our breath, but I closed my eyes, focusing on listening to the chaotic sounds of the ocean around us. My lungs felt ready to burst, but the fear kept me anchored. Then I felt it again, those thrumming pulses, as if the ocean itself was alive and aware. Something else was down here, lurking, waiting. I exchanged a glance with Jenna. The terror reflected in her eyes matched my own. That we had to get to the boat. But the deeper we swam, the more I could feel the pressure of whatever creatures lay waiting for us to come up for air. "Mark," Jenna whispered, barely audible beneath the water. That's when I noticed a flicker of light above us. "The boat." I pointed and squeezed her hand. We had to make it, and soon. We started to ascend, pushing hard against the water's relentless grip. But the moment we broke through the surface, I heard a low rumble that sent chills spiraling down my spine. The calmness was gone, replaced with chaos. The boat was drifting away. "Get to the boat," I urged Jenna as I kick-started towards it, dread coiling in my gut. But from behind us, I heard a splash. Something was coming. I turned back, heart racing, and my stomach plummeted. The water behind us churned, swirling with a frothy intensity. I could barely make out the shadow of something massive, moving fast toward us. Jenna pulled closer, and I felt her trembling against me. "Mark, we have to go." Her voice was a frantic whisper, urging me on. I dove forward, kicking as hard as I could. The boat was still drifting, the gap between us stretching wider. Every stroke felt like I was moving through molasses. I glanced back. Whatever was chasing us was close. Its eyes glinted like stars, a predatory gaze cutting through the dark waters. "Just keep swimming," I shouted desperately. The water felt cold and heavy, but I pressed against that weight. The boat loomed just ahead. I could see the rope hanging over the edge, swinging lightly in the water. If we could reach it, we could pull ourselves up. My breath was ragged, and I risked another look back. The creature was about to breach the surface. There was no time for fear. I could hear the ominous sound of its gills as it sliced through the water. It was a low, menacing growl, vibrating through the ocean's depths. I pushed Jenna forward, using every ounce of strength. The distance closed just as the creature broke the surface behind us, revealing a massive dorsal fin slicing the waves. "Now," I yelled, desperation taking hold. Jenna grabbed the rope first, pulling herself toward the side of the boat. I reached for her, my fingers barely grazing her wrist as I lunged after her. Suddenly, darkness swirled beneath me. I felt something brush against my leg, sharp and cold. "Mark!" Jenna's scream echoed in the chaos. I jerked back, instinctively kicking as I tried to stay afloat. The creature surfaced beside me, its enormous head raising from the water, jaws snapping just inches away. I could see its serrated teeth glisten, dripping with seawater, more horrifying than I could ever have imagined. "Get in," I yelled at Jenna again. My own body was on the brink of collapse. Then I spotted a second rope lying loose at the edge of the boat. If I could reach it, I could swing myself up and pull Jenna with me. But would I risk another moment against whatever was hunting us? "There's no time," I shouted. Adrenaline surged through me as fear clawed at my mind. I swam toward the rope, feeling like I was in a nightmare. But just as I grabbed it, something struck my side with tremendous force. I was thrown sideways, caught in a whirlwind of foam and seawater. My grip faltered, and the rope slipped from my fingers. Panic surged as I fought to resurface. The boat seemed to be growing more distant. "Mark!" Jenna cried out again. "Help!" I could barely hear her. Everything was muted beneath the roar of the ocean. I finally broke through the surface, gasping for breath, my lungs burning. I saw Jenna still clinging to the side, but she was nearly out of reach. A low, menacing growl reverberated again, sending chills down my spine. I glanced back and saw it dark and massive, ready to strike. I had to act. I had to save her. I kicked desperately towards the boat. I couldn't shake the feeling that we weren't alone. It was stalking us, waiting for an opening, waiting for me to falter again. Just as I reached for the edge, my hand grasped only air. I turned and looked back, caught in a deepening dread as I realized it was circling us. The creature's massive shadow glided beneath the surface, its presence a haunting reminder of the danger lurking in the depths. My heart raced. I couldn't linger in confusion. I had to act. I churned my legs, desperate to reach the boat before it was too late. "Jenna," I cried, hoisting myself onto the side of the boat. The slick surface made it nearly impossible to gain a grip. I could see her fingers slipping off the edge as panic bloomed in her eyes. "Just hold on," I shouted, fighting against the tide pulling me back. I leaned out, trying to extend my arm without falling back into the water. Each second stretched endlessly, and the whispers of the creature echoed in my mind. Jenna's face was pale, fear clawing at her features. "Mark, it's behind you." I twisted around, and the water erupted as the creature lunged upward. A massive maw split the surface, teeth gleaming like knives. I recoiled, my instincts screaming to retreat, but I couldn't abandon Jenna. She needed me. With every ounce of strength, I reached for her again. "Grab my hand." She stretched out her arm, but the gap seemed insurmountable. Just then, I noticed something flickering in the corner of my eye, a shimmer beneath the waves. It was bright, almost like a beacon. "Jenna, it's okay. Aim for the light," I yelled, hoping the glimmer would distract the creature. She hesitated, but then her instincts kicked in. She darted for the flickering light. It was just enough of a distraction. I leaned further, my fingers brushing against hers. This time, I didn't let the sensation of my own fear dull my strength. "Almost there," I grunted, pulling with every muscle in my body. I could feel the boat tipping, but I couldn't stop now. Jenna wrapped her fingers around mine, and I yanked with all my might. The boat creaked ominously as she pulled herself up, splashing more water into my face. But it didn't matter. I felt hope surge as she clambered aboard. Then, a sharp pain shot through my side. The creature had struck again, sending a jolt of terror through my veins. Without thinking, I propelled myself upward, following Jenna onto the floor of the boat. We flopped down, panting, hearts racing. I glanced over the side and saw it swim away, its enormous form gliding into the dark. It was still down there, but at least we had momentarily escaped. Then, Jenna's voice broke through my racing thoughts. "What do we do now?" I stared into the churning sea, trying to catch my breath. "We need to secure the ropes and get away from here," I urged. "Whatever that thing is, it won't stop. We'll have to find a way to outsmart it." As we scrambled to tie ourselves to the boat, a ripple in the water caught my attention. I turned just in time to see the shimmering light again. "What is that?" I whispered, both confused and intrigued. But instead of feeling reassured, an unsettling dread settled over me. I was sure whatever that light was, it was connected to the creature and it was watching us. "Mark?" Jenna's voice trembled, but her eyes were locked on the disturbance in the water. "What if it comes back?" That was when I realized this was bigger than just us. Whatever was below had plans we couldn't understand. The creature had been circling, testing. Now it was watching, waiting for its next move. That we needed answers. And time was running out. The boat bobbed slowly, the water slapping against its hull like the nervous heartbeat of something lurking just out of sight. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. "Let us take a look," I said, though every instinct urged me to stay put. With one last glance at Jenna, whose face still held traces of fear, I peered over the edge. The shimmering light flickered again, moving in a slow arc beneath the surface. It was mesmerizing. My mind danced with uncertainty. What if it was a way to communicate, or worse, a lure to draw us back in? "Mark, don't." Jenna's voice snapped me back to reality. She tugged at my shirt as if to anchor me to solid ground. "We should get out of here. Now." I know," I stammered, torn between curiosity and fear. But before I could pull away, the water exploded again. This time, it wasn't just a flash, it was a full spectacle. The creature breached the surface, more massive than I'd imagined. Its skin glutted with scales that sparkled like jewels, and its eyes bore into me, filled with a predatory intelligence. My mouth went dry. I stumbled back, falling on top of Jenna. Together, we scrambled to put distance between ourselves and the edge of the boat. The shimmering light pulsed, flickering like a heartbeat in the water as the creature circled us, its movements methodical, deliberate. "There's no way we can outswim that," I mumbled, my voice barely above a whisper. The realization crashed over me like a cold wave. Jenna's face, once filled with fear, hardened into determination. "We need to get the engine started. It might be the only thing that can save us," she said, her eyes dancing with urgency. I nodded, already moving towards the cabin. Once inside, I fumbled with the ignition key, my hands shaking. "Please start," I muttered, wrenching it. The engine sputtered but didn't catch. I tried again, panic creeping in as I imagined the creature below, eyes locked on our every move. Outside, Jenna kept watch, her gaze shifting constantly. "Mark, hurry," she shouted, her voice rising in pitch. "It's coming." With one final desperate turn of the key, the engine roared to life. Relief flooded through me, mixed with renewed fear. The creature could sense it. It could sense us. It was a game, and we were the prey. I rushed outside, heart pounding. "Let us go," I yelled, but Jenna's face paled even more as she pointed toward the water. Then I saw the shimmering light was no longer flickering. It had expanded, revealing a swarm of smaller, luminescent shapes moving toward the boat like a school of torches igniting the ocean. Something was urging them forward, leading the charge. "Mark, what is happening?" Jenna gasped, but before I could answer, the push from the depths was overpowering. The boat began to tip as the creatures collided with it, the water swirling like a storm. I grasped the wheel, eyes darting from side to side. "Hold on," I shouted, not knowing what would happen next. But as I tried to steer, an enormous shadow loomed beneath us again, sending shockwaves through the boat. That's when I knew this wasn't over. Whatever was out there, it wasn't finished with us yet. The real chase was just beginning. The engine roared loudly, but the sound felt small against the chaos erupting around us. Jenna's scream cut through the noise as the creatures surged, slamming against the hull like a tidal wave. I gripped the wheel tightly, trying to keep the boat steady, but it was like trying to balance on a tightrope in a storm. "Mark, turn us away from the," she shouted, but the words drowned in the roar of the waves. I yanked the wheel hard to the right, praying it would be enough. The boat swerved wildly, and I caught a glimpse of what was pushing against us. Glowing bodies glided through the water, their shapes shifting and flashing as they danced beneath the surface. Almost like they were taunting us, I could feel the boat shaking, creaking under the pressure, and fear clawed at my chest. "I can't hold it," I shouted back, fighting to maintain control. The boat tipped dangerously as the weight of the creatures swarmed around us. I shot a quick glance at Jenna. Her eyes were wide with terror, but something else flickered there, a spark of determination that encouraged me. She wasn't going to give up. She would rather fight than flee. I steadied myself, focusing on our escape route. "Keep an eye on them. I need to know where they're coming from," I called as I throttled the engine. The boat surged forward, slicing through the water as I glanced back at Jenna. She pointed frantically to the left. "There." I squinted, trying to see through the frenzied water. Just beyond the chaotically glowing swarm, something larger was forming. It bubbled up, a gray mass looming like a mountain in the frothing sea. I tightened my grip on the throttle, unwilling to let fear take over. Whatever that was, it was the real threat. "Hold on," I yelled again, shifting the boat's momentum. As I pulled back on the engine, the boat lurched, but we were still heading straight toward danger. No way we could dodge it. But then I had an idea, something desperate. I glanced down at the gear shift. "I'm going to try to reverse," I yelled, hoping Jenna would understand. "Do it," she screamed. I reversed the engine, and the boat jerked violently. The creatures, almost as if sensing the change, darted back for a moment, opening up a gap between us and the enormous shadow that loomed ahead. My heart raced with hope. This might just work. The water erupted in a new frenzy, the glowing creatures swirling into a vortex, pushing against us with unstoppable force. I felt the boat shake under the assault, but I kept pushing against the throttle. "Don't look back," I shouted to Jenna. "Just hold on and stay low." That's when I heard it, a low, guttural roar vibrating through the water, shaking the very air around us. It was raw and primal, sending shivers down my spine. I glanced back, and my blood ran cold. The massive shadow was closer, breaking the surface with each pulse of the creatures. "There's no way out," Jenna shouted, panic rising in her voice. But just as I thought we were done for, something incredible happened. The overwhelming mass of luminescent shapes began to shift again. The larger shadow was being dragged back, pulled down by something else lurking in the depth. "Mark, look," Jenna exclaimed, pointing. I followed her gaze, my pulse racing. There, beneath the creatures, another light was emerging, a deep, piercing blue that pulsed rhythmically. The water around us shimmered, as if responding to an unseen force. What is that? I wondered aloud, caught off guard by the unexpected spectacle, but even as I pondered, the roar erupted again with greater ferocity. Whatever was increasing its power was not done with us. A new threat was rising from the depths. Before I could react, a surge of icy water blasted up from beneath us, lifting the boat higher into the air. I braced myself for impact, heart in my throat. The chase wasn't just about survival anymore. There was something bigger than us in the water, and it was coming right for us. The tide breaker pitched violently beneath us as I gasped for breath, the cold salt water still clinging to my skin. We hadn't escaped, yet not by a long shot. I shoved the throttle to maximum, desperate to push past the pulsating mass that threatened to devour us. The low rumble of the engine mixed with the crashing waves, creating a chaotic symphony that echoed off the surface. "Mark, look out!" Jenna screamed, her voice rising with the intensity of the thrashing sea that I whipped my head around, just in time to see the shimmering light intensify as something enormous surged from the depths. The sea roiled beneath us, casting shadows over our small boat as the creature breached the surface. It was monstrous and majestic, gliding through the water with an effortless grace that belied its size. I caught a glimpse of its smooth, scaled skin and the luminescent glow of the smaller creatures darting around it, a chaotic swarm encouraging its pursuit. Faster! My heart raced as I gripped the tiller, slamming my foot on the gas. We careened forward, desperately trying to outpace the creature that was closing in on us with terrifying speed. Fear and adrenaline coursed through me. My mind raced. The calmness of the boat felt like a facade against the tempest raging beneath. Then suddenly, in a twist of fate I couldn't comprehend, the enormous creature, whatever it was, turned its attention away from us. The pulsating lights shifted again, and a low growl echoed through the water, unlike anything I had heard before. It was as if we had crossed into a realm of ancient and primal forces, awoken from their slumber. "Mark, is it leaving?" Jenna asked, eyes wide with disbelief. I glanced over my shoulder, not daring to hope. Yes, the monstrous shadow was retreating, gliding back into the depths below, as if avoiding the luminous swarm that surrounded us. Relief washed over me, but it was tempered with confusion. The remaining glow of the small creatures pulsing defiantly against the darkness felt almost like a warning. Maybe they distracted it? I murmured, still trying to catch my breath. But the implications of that felt heavier. How interconnected were these creatures? Just then, another massive wave hit us from behind, sending water sloshing over the side of the boat. I wrestled with the wheel, every instinct screaming at me to keep steady, to fight the overwhelming grip of dread clawing at my chest. As the waves receded, I spotted them again deep beyond the swirling foam, that unmistakable flash of blue light shimmering, beckoning from the depths below. "Mark, we need to get out of here," Jenna said, her voice edged with urgency. "Now." But I hesitated. The mysteries of the ocean and its guardians held my gaze captive, even in the face of danger. Questions thudded inside me with every throb of the boat beneath us. What were they? Why had they been following us? My curiosity clashed with the reality of our harrowing escape. "We can't just leave," I murmured, more to myself than to Jenna. "They're part of something." Jenna's expression hardened into a defiant mask that made my heart ache. "We're part of something much more dangerous. Come on, Mark, before it comes back." Just then, another explosion of motion came from below, sending ripples across the surface. We looked on in terror as the smaller, luminescent creatures swirled together, creating a barrier of shimmering light. The water began to calm as the massive shadow drifted farther into the depths, drawn away from us. The tension released slowly, but a lingering feeling remained deep within me. The ocean wasn't just a vast body of water. It was a world of secrets, of life intertwined in a delicate balance. We finally turned back to the coast, the distant glow of lights beckoning like a sanctuary. As we navigated the remaining distance, I could still sense that the universe beneath us was watching, alive with mysteries that begged to be uncovered. Even as we reached the safety of land, the questions swirled in my mind. Were those creatures guardians of the ocean? Were we trespassers in their realm? I moved to a different city after that. Sometimes I wonder if those creatures still roam the depths, if their luminous glow still dances beneath the waves of the sea. But mostly, I try not to think about it, lest the uncertainty pull me back into the unknown.